we're not, the meeting hasn't started, but we're live, so. So your video, on the video camera.
We're gonna stop and you guys are at 200 Broadway, right?
No, we're at 415 River Street, the first floor, yeah. So this is 433. It's just one block, yeah.
Okay, we just had some questions for you, man. I'll stop
Okay.
when you guys are done.
Yep. Thanks.
Are we ready to roll?
8:32.
Okay. Call to order the September or October board meeting of the Troy Community Land Bank. It's 8:32. And I will call the roll. Brian Barker.
Here.
Andrew Cooper.
Here.
Jamie Nager.
He's by phone.
Yeah.
By phone here.
Here.
James Donnelly.
He texted me last night that he was not going to be able to make it due to
Okay.
things.
Monica Krajewski.
Here.
And our council Hedgeman, our executive director Bradley Lewis,
Mhm.
and Paul Donnelly is also absent. And I'm here, Suzanne Spellin. And we have no guests.
Yeah,
Um,
Paul did ask if he could get called in. I don't know if somebody is able to call him. But
Yeah, you want me to, what's his number?
I'll give you his number.
Okay.
I mean, I think he's in Italy, I want to guess.
yeah, I think he
I'm
is.
jealous.
He's an. You guys are all so fancy.
Not me. I'm here.
Furthest I'm gonna get today is Albany.
Okay,
I'm 05.
we have,
Hey,
we have the minutes for our September special board meeting as well as our September regular meeting. If everybody's had a chance to take a look,
If anybody needs a copy, we have them here.
is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the 2 board meetings in September.
Second.
We can do both at the
Hi,
same
Paul,
time.
it's Kate Hedgeman. Did you want to listen to the meeting?
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay,
Okay,
sure. I'll put
The
you on
minutes are
speaker and then
official.
I'll put it on mute.
okay,
Is
our
that-
financial report.
All right. So we'll take the agenda right off. So we have the P&L statement, which, you know, is reflective of our LBI grant. That at the top, we did get the final portion of this year's LBI money in early October. It took a little bit for them to process it because they had some feedback for us and they did it in conjunction with our renewal. So we were renewed for the 3rd year of phase 1. As you can see, we still have the same issue with the insurance expense, but I expect by next month we'll have adjusting journal entries and then we can figure out what our insurance would have been and do our accruals based on that. I talked about that last month, so I won't go too much into it unless somebody asks me a question. So at the end, right now, we're at negative 111,000. By the end of next month, I think we'll be at negative 60,000 for the year.
Because of those entries.
Well, actually, no, you know what? Thank you for bringing that up. We'll be at negative, we're at negative 60 once we credit the money that we're getting from LBI. But we also, with the prepaid insurance and the insurance expense being overstated on our budget, that's going to be decreased because it's an automatic recurring transaction on the QuickBooks account that we just need to delete that transaction and figure out the real numbers. We just haven't messed with it until we got our audited statements back. So both of those things are going to be positive to the organization. We should be very close to break even, a lot less than 100,000 for sure. A lot of the expenses that are shown in this income statement are being reimbursed by the LBI grant. And again, just to restate it again, the insurance expense is overstated. Any questions on the profit and loss? I think it'll probably be over 0, meaning that the main driver of profit, so to speak, and I know we're not a profit company, but at the same time, sustainability requires that we have cash flow positive. But the main driver profit to the organization is going to be sales of buildings, and we haven't done any of that this year yet. So, though that, in my knowledge, in my expectation, that's what's going to really cause this organization to be sustainable. Is when we're creating velocity like that.
Cash flow wise, we're okay though, right? Like your
Yeah.
pay bills and.
Yeah, if you look
I
at
want to
our,
make sure, because if somebody sees this,
Mhm.
looks at the books and sees a negative number,
Yeah.
I want to make sure people understand that
Mhm.
there is cash flow to pay bills and that we're
Mhm.
actually cash positive.
yeah, so if you go to the balance sheet and you see the bank accounts, we do have money in the bank. You
I
know,
was inherited some pretty not great books.
Hmm.
So he's trying to clean a lot of it up and it's
Understood.
just taken a while.
yeah,
I just think it's important for people in the public as they look at this, they understand that it's a cleanup process, but it's also, there's cash flow, we're paying bills, we're
Mhm.
not,
yeah.
we're not delayed pay or anything like that.
No, and actually, the nice part about our potential future expenditures are they're either reimbursable or we'll get the cash up front. We'll get the money up front from the state to pay for any of the RFPs that we have out right now. When we award a contract, they'll actually front us the money to wait for the project to be executed. Then we can or pay the contractor with their money. That being said, yeah, the losing money in that aspect on the books right now, it doesn't look good.
It's just, it's a report.
Mm-hmm. And
versus yeah.
And then the other big item, the big interesting thing with our organization, we're going to capitalize a lot of expenditures. We'll recognize income and then we'll capitalize it. So it actually is a transfer. So when we look at our profit in the future, we might show a very large profit, but actually we're cash flow neutral because we're going to recognize an LBI phase 2 grant to do a roof on a building, and then we'll capitalize it on the balance sheet as an asset for the roof. The building is worth more, and we got money from the state to do it.
Right.
And we won't have an expense, so it'll show that we might have made 100,000, but that's not cash flow. So when the state gives us LBI phase 2 money, it's going to be a transfer of revenue to building valuation, so to speak. So really, I caution the board to look at the net income statement and make any very strong judgments against it because of the nature of our business. On the balance sheet, again, I'll point out, second month in a row, but I hope to get this figured out. Line 13,000 prepaid insurance burn, the whole negative 55,000 is because of that reoccurring charge that keeps happening every month. And that I expect by next month with the audited statements to find out what they have our prepaid insurance at the beginning of 2024. And then from there, it should go to zero by the renewal of our old insurance. And then we'll start capitalizing our old insurance and have that cleaned up. I'm looking towards next month, looking good for that. And then in the future, that would be great. One thing to notice, 12,100 says contract receivable. That is from also, once we're audited, that's going to be eliminated as well. We've already received that money, so
Which one?
it says 12,100 contract receivable. The second page of the first page of the balance sheet. It's a $40,000. Really, that line should reflect our LBI phase 1 grant that we had. It was about 50 or 60,000 for the final draw. That should reflect that number, but right now it reflects a number from year one of phase 1 LBI. Anyway, by the time we get audited, that will be eliminated. It'll be at zero. So I just didn't want anybody to think that we have 40,000 coming our way, and we don't. One other, and I'll definitely field any questions anybody has. There's one line I wanted to point out as well, if I can find it. I might have edited it, so that's good. I made an entry that I was gonna point out, but I made the entry yesterday to clean up that line. So I think I fixed it before I could bring it up. So, yeah. That is our balance sheet, and of course, I've included our reconciliation report, so you guys see the transactions that were made this month.
National Grid.
Yeah, right.
Hey, just, educational piece here. Every property that's listed in the 14,000s that has a zero next to it. Can you just make?
Yeah, we don't own those anymore
Okay, and we keep them on the balance sheet because,
because, well, frankly, when I tried to delete them or make them inactive is what you do in QuickBooks.
Yeah.
It gave me some prompt that it wanted me to deal with something. It was tied to a 1099 or something. is
okay, we
what they
might have
said.
discussed this last month.
Right, and that is one of the things I want to deal with the bookkeeper, see if he has any feedback for me on how to get the old properties off the.
Yeah, I know last month we talked about trying to clean it up to eliminate the noise, but, okay.
Yeah, the problem with doing too much without getting the 2023 audited statement and the adjusting journal entries are, if I adjust stuff, then they are going to tell me what my final is, and I've already messed with some things from the past, then it might mess up the adjustments. So that's why I'm just cautious to get a complete cleanup on that.
Do we have any updates on, oh no, that's another agenda item.
Yeah.
We'll jump to that later.
They'll be here next month, they said. Yeah.
Skin of our teeth. I know,
So
we'll be ready to start again.
I can, if there are no other questions, I can move on to the executive director's report.
Okay.
Yeah, so the first line item is the third-party audit. And again, that's what we're talking. Bonadio is going to be here to present next month. I forwarded the email to Suzanne and CC Kate so that they saw that, but that was yesterday. And I've had to email a couple times. I'm sure that they weren't completely worried about us because it seemed like they would hit us with like a bunch of questions I'd answer, and then it'd be a wait for 2 weeks for more. And then, but they did. I think it was it was Monday. I thought it was odd because it was a holiday. Monday, they asked for a bunch of documentation and internal control narratives and stuff like that. And I responded yesterday. And I just need to get them 2 additional things today and then back to the waiting. But I suspect they want to have it wrapped up and present next month. So yes, by the skin of our teeth.
I sent in the paperwork.
Okay, great.
So for looking at next year, like I know, where I'm at, we just approved next year's audit contract. Is there a way for us to go out and get a couple quotes from different places other than Bonadio? I mean, you're the one who's interacting with them,
Yeah.
but I also think it's important that, if you've had a struggle with timelines and deadlines and stuff like that and delay, lengthening
Sure.
things out, whether there's an excuse or not, Bonadio is a big firm, right?
Mhm.
I think it certainly UHY is the one that we use. I'm not recommending them, but it might be worthwhile to go get a few quotes. And
We, just historically, we couldn't go out to RFP for new quotes because nobody would take us last year because the books weren't great. So that's why we stayed with Bonadeo. But I think now with all the work that Brad's done, we probably could get somebody else to do it if you wanted to.
Mm.
Or at least get
I
bids.
would get some
Yeah.
pricing, keep people honest.
Yeah.
Get some pricing and ask Bonadio for a quote for, 2024's
Mhm.
audit.
To
And
be
with the understanding that it's due
Mhm.
by the end of March.
Yeah, well, and that's not their fault, but what was striking to me last night during the city's budget discussion is the city, I mean, I might be wrong, but I heard that the city council had an audit line for $18,000. And that's what they're paying Bonadio to audit $110 million budget or financial report. And we're paying 12,000, and last year was 18 because of all the extra work to do less than $1 million. And I don't know if this
In full disclosure, mine's 20 plus a 2.5% administrative fee.
yeah. So
Well,
And I have
who's
about an
that?
$8 million budget.
Smaller firm that I've seen, they charge around 7 to 9. For an organization that's probably about this size.
Right.
You know,
That's what I'm saying,
provided
go get
there's
the
no.
right thing.
Yeah, and I wonder if historically we've done Bonadeo because the city uses Bonadeo.
That's right.
But I don't know that we have to, and it's certainly for this organization, our LBI Phase 1 funds reimburse us, but I think the budget I'm presenting today is probably has about $250,000 of $200,000 of expenses. So if we could save 50,000, then we don't absorb that from the organization. It is completely reimbursable. So there's room to sort of, if we can save in a couple places, it'd be good.
Absolutely.
I have an old RFP
How does
for
the
that.
Benadio
I'll send it.
report tie into the Paris deadline?
We're not gonna make that anyway, cause you can't, I gotta put the budget in for last year, do the Paris for last year when the audit comes in, and then I can post this budget. They won't let me post this one until all that's done, and I can't until I have the audited financials.
Hmm.
But we should have them next month and
Wasn't
get
that
it
in
done by the
November
end of the
1st,
year.
We can't upload the 2023 budget?
No, well, the 2023 budget is in there.
Oh, okay. I
But
thought
the
you said-
Paris isn't because I need the audit and you can't put in this budget for 2025 due November 1st until you do all
close
that.
out last year.
Mhm.
Understood.
So, and did we do it? We didn't do a 2024 budget, right? Is that-
I'm sorry. Yeah, 2024 is already in there.
The budget.
Yeah, I'm messing up my years. We're going into 25. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's this 2025 budget that will have to go
You
in.
can't close it out until the audit's up and then you hit the button because the audit's the last piece that goes in.
Yeah, it's the numbers that they want.
Mhm.
And you can't even, like, I looked at it thinking maybe I can do most of it and you can't. They won't let you submit it without the numbers. Do you know what I mean? So,
And-
Kate, I have a question. Brad, not to volunteer you for more work, but Kate, is to lighten your load, and since Brad is the one looking at these numbers every day, are these Paris reports, is that something Brad can be working on
no,
to assist you or to do himself, or no? Is that something our attorney has to do?
no, that is because I'm the one on the Paris.
Okay,
You know, the officer that has to submit that.
okay,
There's a separation there because Brad and or the treasurer, I believe, has to go in and certify it. So
Okay.
that will be at that point, yeah.
so there has to be a separation of whom is doing the numbers and then who submits the report or prepares the report,
Right, and
which is you.
yes, and it
Or
shouldn't,
okay,
I'm sorry,
okay.
it shouldn't be,
Understood.
it shouldn't be too bad because the biggest reports are properties we sold, which we probably only
Yep.
have maybe 2 or 3 by the end of the year, and then all the contracts over $5,000. So QuickBooks
Okay.
actually now is so much cleaner that Brad has done
Yep.
it. It's easier to pull those numbers than it's probably ever has been.
Okay,
So-
so in the history, the reason why we are behind is all reflects back to the books being a
It's-
mess, correct?
Well,
That's
yeah.
what made your job so difficult.
The only challenge, Jamie, is the fact that you have to have the audit in order to close out each year. So we have to get the audit
Okay.
and then Kate can move on to 2025.
Understood. Okay, so the audit's what's holding us up, not that it's a big overhaul to do these reports.
Right, and the
Okay.
the AVO had put this in, had me as the responsible person because at the time they felt that they wanted it that way.
Okay, okay,
That's specific to this land bank. Like for our authority, my accountant does it. And then I go in
Okay.
and certify I prep the documents and he certifies it and he submits it. Previously at this land bank, I did all that work, but it was a different situation. You know, and I think that that's, but you also, you have the rhythm of the ABOs, you know what I mean, of the Paris timing, right?
Mhm.
I think I think just, this is a unique situation and they needed the separation in order to make sure that it was clean.
I mean, I
Okay.
can email them and ask if they'll switch it. I don't know that they will, but I can.
I would leave it consistent for now, at least for a couple of years, just to get everybody. I mean, that would be my recommendation. Allow Brad to get cleaned up, get everything moving the way we want it to do it, and then we can look at that down the road. You're part-time,
Yeah,
right?
I wasn't talking, Kate, Mike, I wasn't talking like this year, next year. I'm talking, a few years like Monica stated, as this thing gets cleaned up. Yes, if it's something that can internally be done, great. If not, if there needs to be a separation, I completely understand that as well.
Yeah, the separation was at their direction for the current time. That's why I'm saying I could ask if they would switch the responsible person to Brad. I just don't know if they will. That's,
Right.
but I'm happy to do it.
Understood.
Okay,
Yeah, so 791 update. So the sprinkler system we had the design and the permit pulled, so I confirmed that with, the code department. The furnace has been moved out of the way of the call it the fire hydrant or Siamese connection, they call it. So I'm new to sprinklers, but it's just like, it feels weird to call it the Siamese connection, but that's what they call it.
It is. They call it.
Yeah, now I have 2 Siamese cats, so it's a fun day. So the sprinkler heads are on order for the deck. So you have to sprinkle the deck that is out back. And and so they're special. They're like frost freeze.
I was gonna say, when I saw that, I'm like,
Frost.
wait, do they have water in them? How does that?
Who said that?
That's the,
Just below the floor.
Yeah.
Great.
below the
Is it
floor.
enclosed?
Well, there's a roof to if you're on the first floor, there's a deck above you, and then if you're on the second floor, there's the deck above you there, but there's no sprinkler for the third floor deck. So just, Brian, you might be able to talk better about it.
Yeah, because it's combustible deck and
I
there's
don't
a
have
fire in the
sprinkler
deck.
on my porch.
But it's three
This is a commercial
units are
property.
Yeah.
commercial.
I have never heard of that. Okay.
But that's the way Seth Matthews designed it and got it approved with the city. There might be other reasons, but that's the approval. So the commercial space on the first floor has piping complete, and then the decks are getting piped, and the furnace rooms, the old furnace rooms are, all piped for sprinkler. So he had to add a bunch of things on, but he's done all that work. He's just waiting 2 or 3 weeks for those special outside sprinkler heads to come in.
Can we please never do a process like this ever again? Just
Well,
saying.
you have to remember that everything that we're doing is just fixing what wasn't done right the first time.
Understood. But,
Yeah.
I mean, the lack of sprinklers in a commercial building and the placement of them is a big issue.
Sure,
It's big
sure.
oops,
Yeah.
right?
So I just,
That's a design issue.
right, but
There wasn't a design.
No,
Right?
but there was a design.
Mhm.
There's a building that is architecturally built
Mhm.
with architectural plans. So there was a design.
but the plans did not have a sprinkler design. The plans,
Right.
There-
Again,
that's what-
That,
Right.
commercial building,
yeah.
right,
building code tells you,
Mhm.
like, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so there's a lot of
But during COVID, the building code folks weren't there.
understood, but again, they were there because I was there for COVID
Well,
and they were there.
pretended they weren't.
They were there and there was 2 of them actually. So not to disparage anybody, but this is also a design issue, right? Like we
Mhm.
didn't get full sets of plans for the
Right.
project. So I think that thankfully, you are you, and we can, if we go down
Well-
this path again, there's some sort of ability to.
I completely agree. We should not do that again.
yeah, I just don't want to
I mean,
limit.
like, and listen, the beauty of the land bank is its versatility, right? And I think that when we get into the real estate piece, I want to talk about that. But the beauty of this is its versatility and the fact that we shouldn't isolate ourselves to one moment. Right now,
Mhm.
yes,
Mhm.
absolutely.
There you go.
Let's
Okay.
do what we need to do, and then we can create that grander vision down the road. But again, this is a lesson learned in, making sure that the people that we hire to do work are held to task
Mhm.
and they fulfill their contract. And
And-
then if not, we can go back to them and get solutions, not just leave us hanging in the wind with lawsuits.
Yeah,
We'll talk
and,
about that one later.
and just thinking out the project completely before moving forward, instead of just saying, let's do it.
A lot of stuff sounds amazing, right? The partnerships, collaboration, community-based work, a lot of it sounds amazing, but everybody has to have a role and a task and be held to accountable.
Yeah. Yeah, I promise
Everybody.
you that we'll be careful, and so, yeah, once that's done and the permit is closed out, we can get the sheetrock patches that were cut out so that we could identify the pipes patched back in.
Have we listed this property yet?
Not yet.
I would say I would get it. Once we determine who's this gonna be, I would get it listed.
Sure.
Even before we get that, and you can say condition, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can put a condition on it.
Mhm. Yeah, so you're 2 or 3 weeks out from sprinkler heads, and as soon as they come in, then they can be inspected by the city. And then from there, you're probably less than a week for the sheetrock to be patched in.
Yeah, I would absolutely get
It
it
almost
listed.
piggyback right away. It seems like that's the way it's gonna work.
I would get it listed.
Luckily, we didn't have to cut into any of the apartments, and the stairwell in the back, sadly, is just to like a level 2 or 3 sheetrock taping job. So that's all we probably have to bring it back to anyways, level 2 or 3. It's a lot of it is unpainted, so that stairwell is going to somebody that buys it might want to do more modifications to the stairwell. So we're not going to go past the level 2 or 3. We'll just get it to the place where we meet code and we can. And
Purchase price can reflect all of that.
yep. So that's where we are with it. All the physical work is done except for the sprinkler heads, and then it's just the permit closeout and then the sheetrock. Well, that physical work isn't done.
And the title's clear now?
And it's just the dry heads out on the deck.
That's right. All the other sprinkler heads have been installed.
So the apartments are like broom clean and all done?
Yeah. Yep. Unless somebody went in there and had their boots on there. I mean, I think there's still glass cleaner, like just a spray bottle of Windex on one of the countertops or something like that. But yeah, I know. When we go to take pictures, it might be a thing where, I go in there, me and Paul go in there, make sure that everything's looking right and,
Okay, great. Can't wait for it to be gone. Party.
there you go.
Okay, how about LBI 1 and 2?
All right, so phase 1, I just touched on it briefly before, but we were renewed for another $200,000 for between now and September 20th of 2025. When I was at the Land Bank Association meeting, it seemed like HCR would probably do it again, but 3 years was their timeline. So the lady asked us, was this good? Was it helpful? Crystal's her name. Is it helpful? And everybody said, yeah, it's helpful to have operating money,
How could it not
Yeah.
be?
Have more money.
It's such a burden.
Yeah.
I don't
It says New York State.
Yeah, so she was just double checking, but the fact that she asked meant she was probably open to doing it all the same way again.
And is the Land Bank Association following that legislation if it needs to be renewed at the state level?
It seems like they're at,
Okay.
yeah, and interestingly, the Albany Land Bank old executive director took a job in the governor's office, and I think that that's helping to inform the governor on some of her mission with land banks. I would assume he would advocate since he was actually the president of the land bank, right? Association. That's what I
think so.
remember.
Adam?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that'd be great.
So I'm pretty sure that they have somebody in their ear regardless about how the land banks can help. So
So that 200,000 is phase 1 and phase 2.
no,
That's
phase
phase
1 is year 1, year 2, year 3. We just closed out year 2 and we were approved for year 3, but it was only 3 years and you'd have to get renewed every year. Phase 2 is just capital expenditures. That's where we have $1.7 million to fix up buildings, buy buildings, demolish buildings, all those things.
Okay.
Yep, and so phase 2 discussion, it would be this little graph here. This just shows you what we're, where Paul is on this. There were 5 of
I'm
them.
here.
Yep. Do you want to discuss or you want me to just take it?
Go ahead, Brad. I'll take it. And if you need me to interject, I will.
Okay. So there's 5 projects where we need to design, where it's going to need a permit and we need to make sure it's done to the specs. So we have a proposal from the engineering firm to design those for the projects, which are just simply roofs or cleaning up debris, did not need a permit to be pulled. And we have RFPs out for those 4. We should have the proposal any day now and in plans in 2 weeks for the 5 projects that we have there.
Who's the engineering firm?
We use Seed. Is the same people that we use for the environmental compliance review. I think we had called around a couple of people and they said they can turn it around in 2 weeks for the plans for simple things like.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
we
Paul.
made several calls, actually. We reached out to 5 different companies. We used Seed earlier for our environmental review stuff to get SHPO approved. And they were the most responsive, honestly, and easiest to work with so far.
Is SEED an acronym?
I think so.
SEED?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if we use them again, would that put us up over the $15,000 threshold?
I think,
Hang on one second. I can do some quick math on that.
Because it is the aggregate, so
yeah,
that's, yeah,
Okay.
you have to bid it, I guess is what I'm getting at. If you're gonna, because you can't just, you know,
yeah, sure, I understand.
little contract, so
Mhm,
that's all.
mhm. Yeah,
Right.
they're very, I think they said it's gonna be 12,000 for the architectural plans for the 5 projects, and they were 2,700 for the environmental review. so-
Correct. That would put them just under the threshold of the 15,000. I just did the same math, Brett.
But
Okay,
the problem is if you hire them again.
Yep.
That's the only problem.
Mhm.
So then if we do need to hire them again, Kate, then we just need to go out to bid. Is that correct?
That's my point is you would have needed to start to do the bid and from the get-go.
Mhm. And that's this year though, right?
I believe so, yes.
So-
Okay.
So we have
Okay.
2 months.
We should be fine.
Cumulative for the year is
Yeah.
the 15,000 cap.
Do you mean again after
Yeah,
what's already, what's just been framed up, or again meaning what's been framed up being the second time?
Well, technically, and it's hard sometimes, you don't know if it's gonna go over the threshold. That's why for the most part, we really try to RFP if we think we're gonna use, like, we wanna use the same one. So
Sure.
technically, if we wanted to hire them again this year, we would have need to have bid it, so.
The first time.
Yeah. So it's,
Well, or what if
Below.
there's changes or there's confusion and we need more?
well, that's
from
that's
them.
what was happening, and the real issue is you have to report this on Paris, and that's where they see,
mhm.
that's the problem.
Yeah,
So for the most part, for engineering or anything related to the buildings, unless it's like clean outs or something really small, we probably should just RFP, and if you don't get a response, then that, that we can work with that too, but.
So if we don't get responses to a true RFP, then it's just we've done our due diligence, Kate?
Well, yes and no. I mean, you still need to, award a bid if it's gonna go over 15,000. So, I think you almost have to go to these, folks that you want to have at the ready and say, you're gonna have to put in a response
Mhm.
because we're going to need you and we have to have it.
And that, I feel like
Perfect.
the RFP process has to be the same every time too.
Yes.
Mhm.
Like you can't say, oh, hey, we're gonna put that up tomorrow and just.
Right,
Like, you
right.
yeah,
you have to-
yeah.
So on this one, I would say, if you're gonna be under 15, it sounds like you're okay, but if
Mhm.
it's gonna go over that for the year.
Mhm.
Eh,
Yeah,
Sure.
I mean, or do we have to
Currently, we're under
postpone
15.
that work then? Is
no,
that not- until
mean, it's
next
a-
year.
Well,
I mean,
we don't have any design stuff for the next.
well,
month
right.
and a
I
half,
mean, what I'm
so-
sort more hypothetically, if that
Yes,
was like
yes, yes,
happening,
yes.
we'd have to just
Yeah.
pause.
Mhm.
And even then, it seems a little shady.
But the confidence level that it would stick at the math, what, 14.7, is that?
That's what I'm
is that
thinking.
really-
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
the
what-
confidence level.
I haven't
that's-
seen a proposal land yet, but.
Okay.
You know,
Well, I think that's the other part of all of it. When you have an RFP, it has to be an official contract of the land bank. You
Mhm.
can't just sign like a purchase order or whatever,
Mhm.
because there's certain things we need in the contract.
Mhm.
So
Sure,
including
yeah.
certain insurance requirements.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah, we're seeing that, Kate, proposals coming in without using the actual RFP paperwork provided by the land bank. And what we're telling these vendors, roofing contractors primarily, is that no, we thank you for, putting up a price here, but you have to go through the entire process and fill out all the forms as instructed in the RFP to even be considered.
yeah, exactly.
yeah, that went out actually for all our roofing, because. As a request for information, we published the report answering all the questions that people gave us, and we published it online. And one of the top questions was, can I just use my own estimate form? And it's like, no, you have to use our bid form. So was the first answer.
Like, see attached kind of deal.
Well, yeah, so any question anybody asks us, we just publish the answers for everybody to hear. So,
Yeah.
clarifications are made to all vendors.
Yeah, because you might have people who are still considering it that haven't actually reached out.
Mhm.
Okay, any more on either one of those? Phase one and phase two?
And this is just the money. This is not the 1.7.
That's it.
This is 258 of the 1.7.
Right,
Okay.
Right.
Just making sure. Okay, perfect.
it's what I thought would be possible to achieve this year.
Good.
Obviously, the real numbers come when the bids come in, but this is just a budget.
Okay,
When the 1.7 becomes available for work, at what point is already or as of?
We were
this
awarded
third quarter, or it's already
it
available?
was awarded in 2023.
Okay.
And I think when the land bank stalled at that point, it was just sitting out there and the projects were available to be done. The ones that I say aggregated to 1.7 million were available to be executed, but there was nobody executing. There was no, staff or project manager or anything like that.
Mhm.
So when I spoke to HCR, they said, well, you have 1.7. I don't want to cancel that one and award a new draft. So why don't you come up with something that you can do and then we can modify it, and just they basically say the LBI funds are very flexible. So I said, well, let's try to get some red X's off our buildings. And by doing that, this is the projects we'd have to do based on the firefighters expressing why there's red X's on the buildings. So that was the strategy at that point.
Okay.
okay. Moving on to old business, the first being progress in getting new board members.
Yep.
And next.
Do we have any updates from, so we have one city council,
Right.
one council,
One
or one
mayor.
mayor,
Yep. And both school districts.
and both school
And
districts.
up to the board appointee.
Well,
Right.
no,
That's
that's Suzanne. So
Suzanne.
that's a full board.
The board appointed.
So here's my recommendation. I think we do a letter to the city council in general, not just Sue, but city council president, but
Mhm.
maybe to, who's pro tem?
Tom Casey.
So maybe to both of them.
Mhm.
And then also to the mayor.
Mhm.
And ask them, say, we have these remaining appointments open.
Mhm.
We would like to have them filled, give them a date.
Mhm.
And if they are not gonna fill them, then I think we take to the city council a change in the legislation and skinny it back down to take the two, and same thing to Tinny at the Lansingburg School District and also to John Carmelo. If they're not gonna appoint these and fill these positions, then we're gonna go back to the city council and change the legislation so that we can actually be a full board. It's detrimental to the organization not to have full membership of the original representation that was the mission of the land bank.
I agree.
Now, would those positions, if, let's say, if the schools decide not to appoint, or would we say we're going to look for a change to allow for additional board appointees or
So
just?
that's up to us. So we can say instead of 11 board members, we're gonna go to 7 board members
Okay.
or 9 board members. Always
Yeah.
an odd number, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, but we can, and that can be part of the legislative change. I just think at this point, we're not serving the us as a board, right? That makes us all more, we all have to be here, right? In those kinds of situations, especially in bigger situations where we need a full board.
Mhm.
So I think that, you know, but I don't know why we're not getting the appointments from either body or any of the bodies. And I think some of it, obviously, we know John Carmelo had mentioned about just maybe once we get everything in order, then, you know, he was super helpful when he was on.
Yeah.
He's super smart. I'm assuming Tinny would be the same way. He's super good. But we have to have.
I think
appointments.
the council did the legislation the way they did because of the 50/5. And
Yep.
yeah, right.
Mhm.
And that really does not happen. I haven't seen one land bank do
Mhm.
it. And so they wanted to give representation to the school district.
Mhm.
Sure.
But if that's something we're not doing and probably not gonna do, then I don't know that it's real critical that you have school district representation. And
Also keep in mind at that point in time too, there was a lot of rhetoric from the school districts about housing projects coming into neighborhoods and the impact on the schools. So by bringing the school districts into the conversation, they can never say they didn't know. Right? There was full disclosure to the school districts, and what they do with the information is up to them.
Mhm.
Right? But nobody can ever say that there was no knowledge to the school districts. And I think back at the time that this land bank was developed, that was part of the goal of it too, is to make sure it was very inclusive of anybody who would have any sort of say as to what was being built in the neighborhoods or sold or, you know, affecting their enrollment or affecting whatever.
Mhm.
There was full representation.
Should the letter include not only the ask, but framing up the state, the State of the Union, right? What, like to just kind of start it out by saying we're excited about the road ahead. We've got
And where we
a
are.
lot of moves been made to get well,
Mhm.
and this is the time, because I think there may be a hesitation to a point because of the past. I mean, it's not maybe, we've heard it, so
Mhm.
maybe that's the way it gets framed up. The road ahead, we're feeling positive about it. Here's the ask. Here's what we need to do if you're not going to.
Yeah, and even a response to that from them saying, to the point, we could make anybody who doesn't want to appoint or doesn't feel in the future they want to appoint, they could, leave it up to us to create a board appointee, or maybe
So
at
we
the
have
end.
to change the legislation.
Yeah, the city council, we'd have to ask them to do it, but at least with a letter of support from, say, Lansingburg or Troy, or say the mayor doesn't want to make the 4th appointment and we want to turn it into a board appointee appointment or reduce the number, If there's 2 people that didn't want it, say like both school districts, then you could drop down to 9. But if there was, 1 person that said we don't want to make our final appointment or our appointment, then we can make it a board appointee appointment instead. And maybe it could be put into the letter. I don't know if that's a good idea, but that's the idea.
Guys, I spoke to John again before I took off. John himself is all but out. Also, I'd like the board to just keep in mind, John's time as superintendent of Troy is probably going to be coming to an end here in a couple of years. So I don't know if he himself does not want to participate. He did not say he would not appoint someone. I shared with him what Monica just discussed about creating a legislation, and he said he would be okay with whatever road we chose to go. But keep in mind, he might not be here in the next year or so.
It could be, one of the things that we could certainly do is maybe there's community appointments. maybe there's people from the community that want to bring into the conversation. I mean, we had a really great, I don't know how Lansingburg went, but we had a great conversation with the Osgood neighborhood last week.
Mhm.
You know, maybe we go in that direction. Maybe there's 2 community appointments that we as a body can appoint. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I think there's some really good creativity that we can use in making sure that we're super represented by the by the community that we are here to help.
Mhm.
To
But
that point, Monica, whatever our target, obviously North Central, we would, you know, in the future move from North Central to other
sure,
areas of the city. That community appointment could be based on what our target area is to work in.
I mean, 11 is a robust board. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But I think that also
It
helps
is.
in community it helps in the committee appointments. I will be honest.
Yeah.
By having a bigger board, you can help drive some versatility in your committee appointments. But, you know, maybe that is what we propose, that if the entities are not going to appoint for whatever various reasons, that we are going to move legislation to the city council and ask that we actually create those 4 appointments into community-based appointments from members of the community.
Hmm.
And those are our choices.
Mhm.
You know, people can come and, you know, put their names in the hat, or we can go out and look for people who are willing to contribute.
I think that's a good idea.
I still think they have to be appointed though, don't they? Like, we can submit it, but I still think the council or whoever's gotta make
So
the,
we don't do that with however we do the board as a whole, Suzanne's position,
right.
right?
Yeah,
However
what
we
about
would do that.
Suzanne?
However we would do that. Because they don't approve the school districts. Right?
They
Susan.
make the appoint, right, but so, okay, yeah, I guess we've never had, other than Suzanne, like, had to do it.
I mean,
So-
let's look at the legality of, because you know,
Yeah,
we'll be
I
questioned.
guess I would just say, let's put it in there that that's our appointing authority, I guess.
I just think it's really important. I mean, there's really good talent
Mhm.
out in the field, I'm gonna say, you know, and then it also gets us out of kind of the fray a little bit,
Mhm.
the political fray.
Yeah.
Because I've heard names from both council and mayor, but I haven't heard a single person put up by the school districts. So,
I think more pressure needs to get put. I think a letter to the council. I mean, I can only call Sue and Tom so many times before I'm given excuse after excuse. We've been told by the mayor's office, Bob Conley's being appointed. But I think, yeah, so that there's a paper trail now. Let's get something in writing requesting those appointments. Because, I mean, this is going on far too long.
yeah, and I made an email maybe in June or July. I think it was July, asking for the appointments as well. So 3 months later, and I've been told the same thing about Bob, that his appointment's coming. So
So just for
So it's Christmas.
for a paper trail, we can certainly draft an email,
Mhm.
right, and then send it to them. But I would also send registered mail,
yeah.
so you have tracking of it.
Okay.
Because you know, we just can't keep lingering.
Mhm.
It's a new administration. It's time for change.
Mhm.
It's, you know, we have a full board. It's time for change, but we
Yeah.
also have to be able to operate in our full capacity. I don't know if people are holding back to see what happens, right? And I'm not gonna be that conspiracy theorist, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's not fair, Monica. I mean, that is what's going on, but that's not fair.
No,
Like, we
I
have a
don't-
board now. We have an executive director. We have a team. Like, fill the spots now.
I don't disagree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any more discussion on that?
All right, so we're gonna move forward with a
Yeah.
letter to Tom Casey, Sue Steele, the mayor, and the school districts. I would just put it informal instead of phone calls. I would just address it to each superintendent and ask for a response.
Yes.
An email response would be fine as well too.
Okay.
Just say, you know,
Should be from all of us. Letter.
Sure.
It's not just you poking them.
Yeah.
It's all of us saying, hey, go south.
Okay.
Moving on to the website update.
Yeah, so as we've got in the the board's sort of bios, they've been uploaded. I've confronted a couple issues with the new website in terms of like, as we're operating right now, we have RFPs and there's nowhere on the new website to have an RFP available for people to look or a place for agenda or minutes to be posted. So we've been confronting some design issues and we're modifying the new website to address it. So I guess the way I would say it is we're building the new website in tandem with operating to see how it operates while we operate before we switch over. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
It's a
like,
WordPress site.
I'm not sure.
What was the question?
Is it WordPress?
Yes.
Yeah. But the idea being that like, as I'm posting things, I'm learning what needs to be on this new site. And I look at the new site and I say, there's nowhere for a contractor to see where our RFPs are, or how will we have resolutions available for, the public to see, so it's a nice website, but being a public authority, I think it has to be a little different than sort of like if you're a contracting firm or, something like that. So I think there's been some issues confronted and we're working through them. I can move into the neighborhood meetings.
Sure.
In Osgood, Monica and I attended, and in North Central and Lansingburg, Suzanne and I attended. And next month I'm doing Little Italy, and I think Paul will be there, and I think it's on the Wednesday the 20th, the same as our board meeting, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, I will be at that meeting.
Yes, and so everything went great in Osgood. The people were excited. It sounds like the neighborhood understood how the LBI-2 grants work, and we're excited for us to possibly help save some problem buildings that are down there. And the same thing happened in Lansingburg. There were some members of the community that had some case studies for us to understand the land bank. And they said the guy across the street doesn't want the building and he doesn't know what to do with it. And we're afraid it's just gonna get torn down. Could you save it? And I said, yes, we could save it. So the discussions were back and forth. Obviously, we have to set a strategy, but I think different parts of the city are interested in what the land bank can do, and they're excited for the flexibility.
So let me ask you a question with the Land Bank Association, because you have that network of 30 land banks now, because I thought I was off on that number. Do any of them have a donation program?
Where people can donate
Correct.
buildings? I haven't
Yeah.
heard that yet, but I'm sure, I know we can get gifts.
No, understood, as a 501c3.
We can accept gifts.
Yeah, no,
we
I
can
know
totally
that, I know that, but what I'm saying though is that there is a form, like, so if Osgood neighborhood wants to say, hey, we know somebody, you can say, hey, check out this link, send them this link, this is what we would need to do in order to do that. Right.
It's not up there, but yeah, 48 items. We took,
Right.
we took something,
Stores gave us that big building.
yeah. So technically it's not an official program that I know of, but we could put it on the website and make
Be
it
a
known.
page on the
Yeah.
site.
And we'd need some kind of process though,
Right.
because we don't want to just be like, sure, we'll take your building and it's some kind of environmental.
Oh, yeah.
Probably.
no,
Which is
There's
why
probably
I'm
rules
saying,
and
like,
regulations.
Yeah.
let's,
Do
if
you
we
want a
establish.
donation policy? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, so people understand what it would, it's not like you can just say, here's our, sign the deed over to us, right? Like, there's a process to it, right? We
Yeah.
want to be able to check it out. We want to look at it,
Or an acquisition policy as it,
Right. We have.
Yeah,
that
yeah, like an
acquisition
acquisition.
policy,
but as it
Right.
relates
a
to
donation.
buildings that the neighborhoods are recommending to us. Because
Right.
right now our policy usually goes in hand with a strategy we're working on versus if we get information, like for instance, the TRIPS idea where we buy their building or get their building for free from them. We don't have a policy that makes that building make sense for our organization, except that it fulfills their mission, but we don't have a mission. So gifts or donation policy, but as well as there might be times when we might have to satisfy a lien of some sort
So I was gonna wonder
to
about
take the
the
gift.
debt, like what kind of,
Yes, and
do
to
they
act,
gift you the debt as well?
well, right, but if we acquire it by paying off the debt, we say $10,000 for the building
It may be worth it.
and we have to pay those liens, and so actually the owner gets no money. It's not necessarily a donation, we have to acquire it.
But I think that's the difference between
Mhm.
if there's bad debt on it, or
Mhm.
tax debt on it, or if it's clean,
Mhm.
right? And somebody, say it's
Mhm.
some estate, right? Somebody passed away and, you know, the kids are like, don't know
Yeah.
what to do with it, right? There's this ability to do a donation.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can also, try to deal with the lienor to settle it for lower.
Yep.
Can bring an action to quiet title, make them show up in court, and if they default, then the court will get that lien off.
I mean, this is stuff that the general public doesn't know.
Right.
Right. And I think that this is, as we move forward, again, cleaning up right now, but looking at next year or even 26, you know, this is the stuff that you could do a press release on this and
Yeah.
just say, hey, the land bank, it's not necessarily a new program, but we're reinvigorating a new program, right? To let people know what we have going on, right? And in a way to help the neighborhoods clean up, and they can make a recommendation, or here's our link, like those kinds of things. I think that's really important information for people to understand and know that it's not necessarily just us competing against them in the bidding war at
Right.
city foreclosures. That we're actually here to help. We have solutions for people.
Yeah, and I was reading the land bank law again this morning because that's what I think seems like I do it every day. But there was a gentleman in Osgood named Chuck. He was talking about us acquiring a inhabited building, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's something about us not buying buildings that are inhabited.
You can.
Well, it says
Be a
that
landlord.
they need to be, we can be a landlord, but it says they need to be vacant, tax delinquent, abandoned, or part of a strategy that we have. And that's what if we bought something substantial, it would have to be part of a strategy or a policy. So, but LBI too will pay for acquisition. So you can buy the building to solve a problem for a neighborhood. And that seems to be the low hanging fruit in all of these communications that we have is how can we make people's lives a little bit better to deal with the vacant structures that are around them?
I mean, there's definitely, as we create mission, you know what I mean, and the next strategy, there's two prongs, right? There's to better a neighborhood that's already declined, right? But then there's also the neighborhoods that are at a, like just before a tipping point, like Osgood was saying, there might be one or two that we might need help with, right? To make sure that it tightens up. You know, those are the kinds of things too, where you can strategize with your communities, you know, our neighborhood meet groups and say, okay, this neighborhood's pretty good, but there's a couple bad apples, or there's a couple delinquent buildings or vacant buildings that maybe we can go in and just help solidify that. Not necessarily like a full scale, you know, going into, you know, like what North Central was 10 years ago, right? When every other building was vacant, right? So that can be part of that strategy so that it would also hold up to the Land Bank Act.
Yeah, so I think the neighborhood meetings went well, and everybody's very excited about the future. You know, what can be done. And I think they're going positive. I mean, the last one's Little Italy. Me and Paul will go and we'll discuss with them. Yeah.
Years ago, someone tried to donate that rock out property.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
Mount Olympus, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Where is it?
That's
Over
what I
there?
did.
We didn't take it because we didn't know what to do with it.
Oh, the liability.
Yeah, well, that's the
Like
issue,
somebody
right?
giving you the gorge.
That was a funny email, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Do you want this? And you're all like, no.
Hot
Yeah,
potato,
like
yeah.
something that kids climb on
Yeah.
in like fall.
Sure.
Yeah. So I move on to the Pioneer accounts. To Monica's point of the last meeting, some of the Pioneer accounts are 2022, 23, 21. So they're not quite 7 years. So I think we can make them inactive on our QuickBooks books, but keep them active at the bank. You know, that's pretty simple process, I think. But they seem to be recent enough where they weren't 2016, 17, 18. So that's all I have for an update on that. We just got the meeting minutes, so I need the minutes to close the Northern account. So I didn't do anything with that until I have the meeting minutes. So we're good with that. Anybody has any questions in the old business? Feel free to ask, but otherwise we can move on to new business.
Yeah, the 2025 budget.
Yes, I drafted a budget. I have it. I think it's the final thing on this packet. I just went based on our income statement and the lines on our income statement for expenditures, and then, at the end of it, I did some balance sheet transactions, and, so what that means is they wouldn't be budgeted for, an expense, because if we upgrade our buildings, it goes on the balance sheet. And then I just have a couple controls in there to make sure my functions work, because I use this budget to inform the Paris budget.
Mhm.
That we would eventually, if this one, everybody agrees with it, then we can then post it to Paris using the formulas.
I have a legal question, Kate. So do we need to have a resolution for both the budget and also for the Paris Commission?
Yes.
Okay.
But we only had the agenda late last night and I didn't know we were
Mhm.
gonna approve it, so. Brett and I
And we
have
can
to
always-
get better about, I have to know about resolutions at least a week in
Yeah, and we
advance.
can always
Yeah.
approve it next month, because we don't have,
You're not gonna be able to submit it anyway.
right, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
I have
no,
it
no, I just
down
wanted to
that I
make sure.
need one. We need one for, to accept the audit as well.
Yep.
Mhm.
So I have that down for
So
November.
do we wanna defer voting on this budget 2025 until we have a resolution for it?
Well, what I was gonna do is just post draft it, so you can approve it
Okay.
and we'll have, it's just a basic resolution with the budget attached anyway.
Yeah.
So usually when we do, I call them walk-ons, like when we weren't quite prepared, I usually just do it and have, Brian sign it and we're good to go.
So at the next board meeting, we're gonna have a resolution for the Paris budget and then also a resolution to accept the financial audit.
Yes.
I make a motion to approve the Troy Community Land Bank 2025 budget as submitted.
I have a question before.
Well, we can.
Um,
we have
yeah, first,
discussion.
second.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Technically, somebody seconds, that way the discussion can start, right?
I'll say.
So, what's the process if, for modifications of the budget? Like if we start drifting away from this
Mhm.
4 months into next year,
Yeah.
um,
So what I'd really love to do is, the reason I went line by line on it is because then we can take, our bookkeeper can upload this budget to our QuickBooks account. And then what we can do is every month when we have a profit and loss, it can be against the budget as well.
sure, yeah,
And then you guys can have monthly updates where we are as it compared to the budget. And so the process at that point is you guys would have monthly statements and we would have to make modifications if we're overspending in one category.
I mean, is that necessary?
It's easy to do, so.
I mean, but is it necessary? Like if you're over. and
that's sort of my question is,
Right.
so we're approving this under what? And then so we approve something? Like, how much do we care about the specificity of the budget over
Right.
in the coming
It
year?
allows me to act without.
Well,
having
sure,
to come
yeah,
to every
I
single-
completely understand that part of it. And is there any other?
wholeheartedly want to have.
Yeah, oh, sure, of course. And is there any other consequence of a particular number somewhere on a particular line?
So I think what we could do, so say something came in over budget that we authorized you through the detail of the budget. You know what I mean? If it came in, you had a line item of $25,000 and it came in at $50,000, then that would be something you would want to bring back to the
Mhm.
board and have us approve that officially because it's over the expended budget. And
So that, right, okay, so it gives you, as I do understand, gives you authority to spend within the budget, but of course, we'd have to approve anything that's outside the budget
or according to
or
the
exceeds the budget.
purchase.
Or, yeah, based on our
Yeah.
standards. Okay.
Mhm.
That's
And
pretty
then-
much what I expected, but I just wanted to be clear.
I don't think we have to necessarily ever do, like, the city has to do a budget modification if they overspend because they have to figure out where the revenue's coming from.
Yeah, we don't.
We don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Like if we all of a sudden, repairs and maintenance, but it's the bottom line too, right? Like we gotta make sure we're still within our means.
Mhm.
But similar to like the city has to do, we don't have to do that kind of a detailed
Mhm.
piece.
And I don't mind communicating when there's things that are,
Yeah, oh, I mean, I'm sure you would.
I
I
prefer
didn't even
it,
question that. I just was curious, like, so it means we have to upload this. And then basically nobody looks at it until,
Well, I think we upload the
And-
Paris one. So if you look at the spreadsheet I sent you, the first page would be the Paris portion of it. So I think that's the part.
That's
Okay.
allowed- That's allowed to be modified, isn't it? Like-
Yeah, but generally you don't need to, and you shouldn't, because what happens is when you go to file, the Paris report, they ask you for actual. So that's when you true it up of what was it actually versus what you posted back. That's how they do it. So we've never,
does
Yeah.
anybody ever question like, oh geez, that's like 50% more than you said it was
you
gonna be,
know,
or?
that's the least of our problem.
Yeah.
So, you know,
The auditor.
they're not looking
Yeah,
at your
the
line
auditor.
items.
Yeah, okay.
They're like, where's the reports?
Right.
So,
Mhm.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, and from year to year, it's pretty consistent. I mean. you're
Well, a
gonna be
lot of
doing
these are like
better now,
projected
so
from
it's
last
gonna
year,
be
and
a
then, of
larger
course,
budget,
whatever it was.
but it's pretty consistent
Yeah.
year to year, and the numbers might go up a little bit or whatever,
Mhm.
but
Okay, thank you.
yeah. But you
Okay.
should see budget to actual, like
Mhm.
putting it. in
Yeah, oh, yeah.
QuickBooks, Yeah.
Alright, so there's a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi,
Any opposed? Motion is passed. So, resolution for the executive director to apply for grants.
Right. This is from HCR. When I applied for the LBI one renewal, she said, what is authorizing you to do it? And I said, well, good question. So she said, can you give me an email from Suzanne authorizing you to apply for this specific grant? And then can you have your board draft no, she didn't say she said you should probably have your board draft a resolution to allow you to apply for state, local, federal grants, that sort of thing. So this resolution just allows for that.
In
It's very
general,
general, yeah.
Yeah.
in
That's fine.
general, not like for each grant, but in
Right.
general.
Right.
Blanket.
Yeah, okay.
within the scope of our,
Sure.
you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
What happens is if he applies for one and we get it, they're gonna have a grant agreement and you're gonna have to, it's gonna come back to you there and you're gonna have to approve that specifically.
Right now, there are no grants I'm looking to apply for, but that was just.
yeah, I mean, we wouldn't want to have to wait until you have, like
I
wait a
think-
month.
I think it's
For the
more
next
about
meeting
them
and-
than it is about you. My
Mhm.
guess is somebody probably applied for a grant and then the board was like, no, we're not doing that. And they already went through their process and gave it. And
Mhm.
then that's my guess. That's why they probably
Mhm.
want it.
And then on top of that, from HCR's perspective, everybody that has signed LBI 1 and 2 grants up to this point has changed. So the people who have applied for those grants are not the people asking for disbursements and reapplying, but they have an authorization from Teresa Newton or Heather King or Albert Watson to execute these grants. And so they're getting all brand new faces and names.
Mm.
And so I think they just want to have a little bit something more firm for that.
I make a motion to approve, permission of BED to
I
write
second.
grants on behalf of Troy Community Land Bank.
Okay, I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passed.
So you'll do another post.
Well, that one we did have.
Okay.
Yeah, that was in the packet.
Oh, that's right.
Because he had asked me for that a while ago.
Okay, now the biggie. Executive board elections. Okay, we have chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer.
Well, Jamie already stated he didn't want to be 3 of the 4.
Correct. That was very good investigative work, Monica.
So, can I just ask a process question?
So I'll nominate myself for chair. I don't know how the process goes, but yes, that was what that email stated.
Huh?
I might have missed the email.
No, he just said
So,
he
So process. So Kate, legal.
Well, I mean, I think you have to just take nominations or motions from the floor.
For each position
Yeah.
individually, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so is Jamie the only one that is up for chair?
Now you gotta take nominations. Can you nominate yourself?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, I make a motion to approve Jamie as the chair of the Troy Land Bank.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
right.
Congratulations, Jamie.
Congratulations, Suzanne.
Yeah, like-
Now that was funny.
Every now and then. you know,
Okay,
I-
moving down the line, vice chair, I nominate myself.
Okay.
I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay,
But who, I motioned. You second.
Second.
I'll do a resolution to back this up too.
okay,
I'm happy to nominate myself as secretary.
all right.
Oh, thank God. The worst job.
Yeah, a motion.
Aye.
Okay, who seconded that?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Now the big one, treasurer.
That's where I think too, like, it'd be nice to have somebody with a little bit more of a financial background or whatever. I mean, Monica could do it, but I'm just.
So you nominate her?
I have no power to nominate. So.
I will put my hat in for the treasurer of the Troy Community Land Bank.
I'm gonna get it later. Watch.
Yeah.
You're here.
Oh,
I second. Okay, putting it to a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Who motioned?
no. She
Not
nominated.
in motion.
Oh.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, who motioned? Oh,
I
yeah.
just put my name on.
No, yeah, I keep getting a note.
Wow, look at that.
Wow, would that the country ran that way?
Right?
Well, I mean, if there are only 8 voters.
We actually kind of did that on both sides right now. Like we all threw it, like everybody just put a name in.
Yeah,
Said aye.
yeah.
Yeah.
Who's
There was
gonna
no-
volunteer for
There was
this?
no competition on either side. Welcome to the new America.
Okay, committees, we've got, tell me if I forgot any, we've got A&D, acquisition and disposition, we have marketing, we have auditing, financial, and hiring.
Is finance and audit a singular committee?
No, can't be. So, yeah, because how do you sit and oversight to yourself? And it's also in the not-for-profit corporation law. They specifically separated the audit function. So the treasurer usually chairs the finance committee, but not the audit committee. Treasurer can be on the audit committee, but it's supposed to be comprised of independent directors, meaning, you know, finance runs the day-to-day and the audit takes a look at, is the day-to-day, you know, done correctly, I guess, internal controls, all that.
Okay.
A&D, finance, audit, marketing. I think that's it, right?
Yeah, I think so. And each,
Hiring,
yeah, hiring.
which
Each,
we said the first time, but no.
HR.
each committee should have at least 3 people.
Wouldn't hiring HR fall under the executive committee?
Yeah, I think so.
I think with a board this size, I'm shocked how many committees there are. I mean, I'm on some other boards with less committees than this, so I'm just curious if there's a way to
Tweak them.
consolidate so it's not.
Well, audit only meets maybe twice or 3
Okay.
times a year when it's audit season, right? So that's not too
Okay.
much of an issue. The executive, that's, you know, has to meet when they feel they need to. A&D is really the big one for property distribution, acquisition and distribution. And then, finance in particular, and I think that's gonna be, if that committee even met every other month, it would be, I think, a big help to Brad, to be honest with you, just to make sure that, you know, we got, the books are looking good. He's got authority, you know, all of that, and internal controls too. Like they need to really review the bank statements and different things. So, you know, those have always been, and marketing really only like convenes when there's.
Yeah,
you
I
know,
guess that's one, is marketing because there's a lack of staff that has that as a primary responsibility.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. All
and,
right, maybe that's,
and I think, you know, it's just to bounce ideas and stuff off
Okay.
of.
So we don't have to, so can we leave marketing as a,
Pop-up is
A pop-up
what we
committee?
usually do, right? Andy?
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was on that and we met, like, if there were, Suzanne was on it too, right?
Yeah, I
And
was the
Mark,
chair.
I mean, we met when there was like, oh, we had an idea, let's try this thing. And then we met a few times.
Okay.
Well, that's my recollection.
Yeah.
And then maybe we didn't meet for a year. Like, it was like,
Yeah, because we didn't have anything to.
Right.
market.
Executive, finance, and A&D are the big ones.
Got
can we
it.
just
That's
build
good.
those?
Yeah.
So executive is the officers, so that's done. A and D, that's the one everybody wants to be on.
Well, I forgot about governance and nominating. Governance, I think we need to have a committee established because you really need, I was looking at the, disposition policy and it is old. Like we have to go through all those policies, with the new board and make any changes that you want. So again, executive committee could function as the governance committee and to do that, if you want to, but I just want to put it out there. We really need to look at the policies because they're really old. So,
I think that's a simple way to do it. It's kind of
Yeah, just
duplicate
exact-
anything
yeah.
That's maybe not
Can
needed.
you rework the policies, or is that legislative stuff?
No, I can, and I mean, I can, take them one by
Obviously, it
one.
takes time, right? Like you said, we have to go through some, but you say that it's old, so that kind of makes me think that you think we should get more current, correct?
Yeah, and like the A&D policy, I think should go to that committee first. You know what I mean? Let that committee decide what it should say, and then it goes to the full board for approval. There's different ways we can do it, but it really does, we gotta move on that.
So I think it's important, I think, as we set up these committees and the executive team, right, is to set out what we need, what are some goals for the annual meeting? Because that would be the time that we could really go through and
Mhm.
polish all this stuff up. We should have the website figured out by then. That way we have the new procedures, new policies, and then
Yeah.
those get uploaded at the annual meeting. So we can all vote to make any changes. And even if there's existing policies that we have that aren't changing, we just make a resolution to adopt as is, right? We're
Yeah.
reestablishing that same process.
We usually do the housekeeping resolution in March. So that's why I'm bringing it up now, is it usually takes us November, December, January, February to work through any changes before that resolution. And you can adopt your new policies and then keep the old ones.
I think it would be good cleanup work, like you said, housekeeping for each committee to take that to task over the next 4 months.
Yeah. All right, so A&D.
Who wants to be on A and D?
I'll be
How
on.
many people do we need?
At least
I'll
3.
Okay.
nominate, are we still nominating?
No, we're
Or we're just volunteering
volunteering.
at this point? I would volunteer for Andy.
I've been on it.
I've not been on it before,
I
so.
prefer not to chair.
All right, so we have,
What did we say?
We have Brian and Andrew.
Okay.
for Andy.
How many does each committee need?
Jamie,
Three at least.
Jamie,
Yes, I'll be on.
I thought you said that you wanted to
Well,
be on
you'll be
that.
on it
Yes, I'll
anyway.
volunteer for
Yeah.
A&D, yes.
And well, I just asked Kate that as chair, he can come to the meeting
You
and
can come to all of them.
he can come to all of them.
Anybody can come to all of
but-
them.
What does it mean to be a voting member?
In other words, that's the group that decides to move a property forward to the board and to sell it to a specific person. So
Can a
that
chair,
needs a vote.
can a chair be a voting member? or-
Yeah, in the
Okay,
past, Heather has been.
okay.
All right, so we have 3.
Okay.
So it's Andrew, myself, and Jamie.
Finance,
Obviously. Me.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be on, I don't mind being on.
And I'll go on finance as well.
Brian?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, Jamie, Heather was on A&D in finance, so,
Yeah, yes, that, perfect. That
Yeah.
makes me feel better.
And I'm the chair of that automatically?
yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so Monica, Brian and Jamie audit.
I have to get a printer at home.
You don't
Okay, the governance.
know.
So, executive,
Send it to Walt at the shop.
someone else wants.
You probably live there anyway.
He does.
I'll go on audit. I was on it before.
You're the chair of the audit, you said?
How many we have?
No, I don't think that's what I said.
How many do we have for audit?
We need.
I'll go on that
I
one.
can't, I mean, I could be.
I think, personally, I think that the treasurer should be involved in both of those
Yeah,
aspects.
Yes, you have to have other people with you on the audit.
In the third,
Governance?
No, we need
Oh,
third
do we
for
have
audit.
three? I'll be on audit.
Wait, who's the two?
I'm on audit.
Okay.
All right, Monica, Suzanne and Andrew.
Do we have a chair yet? Are we establishing that later?
It can't be Monica, so it has to be Suzanne or,
I could be the chair. I guess.
Yay.
Do we have a chair for A and D as well? Okay,
was it Jamie?
yeah,
Make-
he can be, yeah, sure.
Jamie's chair of A and D, okay?
What happens when you don't come?
It's fine.
Thankfully, my plans
Thank
change.
you.
So marketing, Andrew, and do you still want to be on it?
So are we
I
gonna,
mean,
Pop up at all?
yeah, I thought if we're gonna, sure, I can be on it.
do we have to fill it if we have it? Is marketing in the bylaws or is it an ad hoc committee?
I'd have to look. I think it is an ad hoc committee.
So do we have to fill that right now?
No.
So why don't we wait to fill that and then if we need to fill it going forward?
In your manuals, there's there's a audit committee charter and a finance committee charter and a governance committee charter that kind of says what
Yep.
and it's also in the bylaws.
Now, I texted Seamus. Hopefully
Oh, we
he can
forgot.
respond
Yeah,
if there was one he was interested in,
okay.
but he hasn't yet, but that's okay. If he does, he does. But I mean, do we put,
I think he said A and D. I seem to remember
Oh,
when I
can we
was.
put
sitting
him
next-
in later
Yeah,
on
we
these
can.
committees?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah, but you might want to round it out a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Because you don't want even numbers.
yeah, yeah, things like, we still have governance and
Governance.
nominating, so.
All right. We have enough for now.
And you could duplicate governance and exec, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought you guys were gonna do.
Okay, so the
That
officers
takes
are on the
care of
governance and the executive committee?
Yeah.
Do they meet different or together? Separate
Usually
committees?
we would do it, like we would open a governance meeting and then they can do their executive or vice versa.
Gotcha.
So they're all in the same place and.
Two for
time.
one.
All right.
Yes, please.
And the nominating committee, is that,
For governance.
oh, it is?
Yep.
Okay, good. So Seamus basically would just let us know, and the new board members would let us know what committees they would like to participate in.
And then you just add them.
Yep, okay.
Yay.
Mm.
Okay, real estate RFP.
Right, so we sent out the RFP, it was out there for 2 weeks and I had sent it out to a lot of people. Of course, I sent you guys emails of some of the people that I sent it to and we got 3 responses. Sherry is the incumbent, she responded. Amy Smith Mager responded and Leah Whitco responded. So we have 3 responses.
So just,
That'll be Amy Smith soon, so.
What?
It'll be Amy Smith soon, she's dropping the Mager name.
So, and there is the ability for us to split the RFP. We don't have to take one, we can take 2 if we wanted to.
That's the way the RFP read, yeah. That actually, the way I read our RFP, it said essentially that we could have all 3 of them represent us at some point. That it wasn't actually an exclusive, you're the only realtor or real estate agent. It made me feel as though you could go property by property of which one you wanted to use, but you couldn't use people who don't respond because they didn't respond to the RFP.
That sounds
Gives you
like really
options.
confusing.
Sure.
Like,
Well, you could set parameters and so. No offense to Jamie, but we all have an oath of ethics.
Mhm.
And ethics are arm's length transactions and I completely understand this, but perception is also part of ethics. As a public officer for another authority, perception is just as damaging as actual. A perceived conflict is just as real as a real conflict. So I would like us to take all of that into consideration. That does not mean that I don't really like the individual that put in the proposal, but I feel that it would create an unwanted perception of unethical approval for a board that's struggling to get back to struggling.
Credible, yeah.
What is the relation? I
So
don't,
Amy and Jamie were married.
oh, and he's chair?
Yes,
No way.
we're married. And Jamie and I say that out of love for both of you. I just,
No, she went into this knowing that I could not answer the question because honestly I didn't know, right?
right.
I told her, I said, Amy, I have no input on this. This is going to be a board and our attorney's recommendation.
So
So I fully expected, as well as she did as well, Martha, that because we are, righting this ship and we don't want a TU article and or other articles written about,
correct.
now we have a new board and now we have two people with the same last name on the board.
So I would like to make a motion to actually split the proposal. Anything, I believe, in the city of Troy, a commercial property is anything with 4 units or more. We have one proposal that is heavily commercial oriented. And then we have one that seems to be more residential oriented. So what I would like to propose is anything that we have that is a single family up to a 3 family with no commercial aspect to the property be awarded to the proposal submitted by Sherry. And anything that has a commercial component to it and or over 4 units, I would propose that we hire Leah's firm. Did I say that correctly? Right,
So that would include 791.
correct.
I have worked with Leah before. She's fantastic.
I just really think that we need to make sure, and this is my personal preference as a board member, if there's a lot in the commercial brokerage proposal, it was very investor oriented. And I really think that we need to remember that we're working in neighborhoods and not necessarily looking to garner a profit all the time. Yes, we need to garner a profit so that we can operate, but we don't want to be seen as driving just investors to neighborhoods. There's a true mission that we need to get actual neighbors in neighborhoods with ownership options and opportunities. We have a housing crisis that there is a missing market of like the 150 to 250 range, and we can definitely fulfill that if we do it properly. And that will also help the people, whether they're empty nesters or they're new pioneers and urban pioneers or new people coming to the city that are young, that give them opportunity that isn't there right now. So that's my motion, is that we split it between commercial property according to city code 4+ or a commercial piece, and then the residential to Sherry.
Second, yeah, second,
The 2 Bryans.
absolutely.
I have a question before we vote. I think Sherry will be very upset if we take 791 away from her.
Then we can certainly, if she has the history with 791 and she's done the marketing for that 791, then leave her with 791. I modified my motion.
Was there a deadline on the RFP? I know we reached it. Like, do we expect any other?
No, the
No,
deadline
so-
was, I think, the 11th.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
I thought so, but I was like,
Might have
would
been,
we get any more,
might have,
proposals?
I think it was Friday at 2 p.m.
They both have 6%.
Do we have any other commercial properties? that
Well,
we-
like we had the development site at
I mean, we have vacant
871.
land. Vacant land would be could be a commercial piece.
Okay, no, I was
Yeah.
just curious. I wasn't sure.
We have that entire
Um,
parcel on River Street.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
871.
I
Yeah.
mean, that would be, like, that would sort of fall back to marketing too. Like, how are we marketing a property? If like for empty land, because it could be side lot, that's not a commercial.
but that, if we, a commercial, like, unless we are going to develop that property, right? Or partner with Habitat or something like that, then that would be something, vacant land would be something that you would want to get to Leah, because then she could do it into a bigger process or
Mhm.
parcel.
Mhm.
But the beauty of hiring these at 6%, not discounted, is that they would market those properties for us. Leah's got a very robust, she gets on an MLS, she's on all the CIRB, she's on all the commercial entities. And then also Sherry would have the residential aspect. They would both, we would expect them both to treat us like they would any other contract. You know, they go in, they take the pictures, they, you know, stage it, do whatever they need to do to sell it and market it and earn their 6%. It's not like they're discounting the sale. I mean, they're still, you know.
And now, the last round of, when we first, I think, hired Sherry, we had a lot of discussion about, well, a lot of our property values are quite low. By the nature of what they are, which means we'd
Yeah.
not be paying 6%. We'd be paying the minimum. I want to say it was like 2,500. At least I skimmed through the response. I don't remember all the details. But do we need anything additional about, you know,
What we should do is pull the contract we had with Greg at Coldwell before Sherry, because there was language in there like vacant land. I think, like say we're selling vacant land for 2,500, they'd only get a flat fee of like 500. So let's pull that language out, because you're right. We don't want to pay 6% on a
well, they don't want to earn 6% on
Right,
$1,000
right.
property.
But I think you're right, like, we should just, when we do the contract, we need to look at what that language was.
Yeah.
For the lower, like, properties that are listed that we might not sell for $5,000 even. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a flat fee, so I'll have to.
It was
see if I
something
can
like for
find that.
property under a certain value, or,
Yeah.
you know, I don't remember what it was, but
But
She has
that's,
a proposed fee schedule on here,
what,
and the vacant everything is 6% of sale price, but
Right.
vacant land is negotiable as needed.
is that
Right.
Sherry's or the,
That's Sherry's.
okay, yeah, that's probably what maybe it was before. I just wanted to make sure we're not approving or accepting that response that without clarifying that there are some properties that the fees aren't going to work well for both parties, for them, you know, or us.
Yeah, we want people to want to market them.
Yeah. And before, when I was saying marketing, I didn't mean like that we would be doing the
No, I
marketing
know.
work, just that with like, what's the plan for a property? Maybe programming would have been the better term there.
Okay, so we have a seconded motion, go to a vote.
Modified, with
Modified.
791 going to Sherry.
Yes,
so when they give us their listing agreements, those agreements will come back to you for approval, and we'll make sure
So there'll be a further
Yeah.
opportunity to clarify. Okay.
so all in favor?
Can I
Oh,
ask one
sure.
question real quick? Because Sherry had 791 already under her contract, can we have her start listing it prior to awarding a new RFP? Because-
absolutely.
Okay, so I would.
Yeah.
When you tell
hear
her
you.
about this,
Yeah.
say, oh, by the way, can you put 791 up for sale tomorrow?
Yeah.
We'll vote on the rest, but we need 791.
Sure, we'll get the moves going right away.
I think she'd be happy to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, now can we vote? Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is passed.
I think that takes care of other business, A 791, because I just wanted to see where everybody was. And so the only other thing is the discussion of the settlement, the litigation.
So you need a motion to go.
Right, yeah, I can't do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
you need a motion.
Motion to go in executive session?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
Can I get your email? I didn't actually grab the handout from.
Okay. Yes, it's brad.lewis@troycommunitylandbank.org.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Yeah.
I'm gonna end the stream now.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.